And we are live with Spot Dodge, a live Nintendo podcast where every single week we react to the latest Nintendo news and talk about the games we are playing. With me here is, as always, Mary Stowe, social media manager and host at Destructoid. Alongside her is John Frisha, indie developer and managing editor over at The Escapists. Then we have Brett Larson, the King Daddy Dilf of the podcast. And then we have Greg Vargas, writer at PC Invasion and streamer over at Dynamite Giraffe. And lastly, we have Eric on the ones and twos, streaming the show live from his supercomputer. I'm Brett Medlock, host and content creator here at Destructoid. And this is Spot Dodge. Let's get into it. The first topic of today is going to be Pokemon, this glitchy mess of a game, or games, I should say. Guys, the thing about this is, I don't think anyone here actually is playing it, so it's kind of a weird topic to start.
It sucks. We're furious.
Yeah,
this is why we're not playing it, right? Right.
I mean, it is probably one of the main reasons why I'm not playing it, to be honest, because I was on the fence, and then I saw all the broken mess that it is, and it's like, oh god, I don't even want to support a game that runs like this. And before the comments. Before the comments come in and say, I've been playing it for 20 hours and I haven't experienced anything like this. First off, you're definitely experiencing tons of performance and performance issues and frame drops. That's like, it's unavoidable. It's in the game. You can't avoid that. Second off, obviously everyone has a different experience, but we're more so reacting to the dozens and dozens of glitches and bugs that we've seen all around the internet ever since they came out, which are hilarious, by the way.
Dude, some of them are so bad. It's like Cyberpunk bad and like Dying Light. Dying Light 2 is actually, I love Dying Light 2, but it had some of the worst glitches. It's like that level, dude. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I'm almost tempted to get it just for the comedic element of you can make some laughing at the bugs.
Some good shit with that.
All right.
Isn't the one where he's fighting someone and like the Pokemon's tail comes up right in front of his crotch and it looks like it's like what is going on here?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like Game Freak with Arceus, they put out a game that had performance and it had a lot of performance issues with the frame rate and stuff, and it was ugly. It was an ugly looking game. But with this one, it's way worse performance, and in my opinion, I think graphically, from what I've seen, it doesn't even look as good as Arceus. I don't like the art style as much. With Arceus, they were going for some sort of painting effect. With this, it's more just like it's cartoony, obviously, but like the textures are so blurry in some spots that it's like, how did this get past? Like how have they not enhanced a lot of these textures? So yeah, I just think it's crazy.
That's what I was saying when I said it at times, literally, from what I've seen, looks like GameCube graphics. It truly does. Like some of the textures are that bad.
It looks awful.
It's like, yeah, it's terrible, dude. Like how can this pass when like people are going to like view the final product and they're like, yeah, it looks good. Let's get it out. Make it gold. Let's push this thing out. You know, like how does I don't know. It's wild to me.
Either.
Biggest IP in gaming history.
That's what I was gonna say.
Mary,
like I was gonna say that like one of like the biggest like gaming franchises, and this is what they release. I'm like, y'all have the money and the people to do quality control, and it looks like y'all just decide to skip that step and just release it.
They had to hit the holiday season. They're like, wait.
It's like you don't want to have any pride in your work. Like as someone that worked on this, you'd want to go back and be like, this looks beautiful. We put so much work into this. And instead you get to go back and say, yeah, we made a shitload of money, but it looks like fucking ass.
It feels so lazy.
Yeah, it's
like I hate throwing around that word when it comes to like game development, because obviously everyone knows it's not lazy, but it really is strange for sure that like this game can look and run this bad.
Well, it's almost fair to call it lazy because when you see games like Astral Chain run on the Switch, Luigi's Mansion, Mario Odyssey, Gears of War 5, you know, how beautiful games can be. And then you see this, it's just like, what else? I mean, obviously it's not fair to just say laziness, but we know they're capable of making something that looks way better. So that's what's frustrating.
I wouldn't even necessarily compare it to those games because a lot of stuff you just named is all like linear stuff. But even open world games, a lot of them look better on Switch than this. Much, much better. Xenoblade Chronicles, Breath of the Wild. Like those are two franchises not as big as Pokemon. They don't make as much money as Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild.
It's crazy.
I've seen people arguing too whether it's the game performance itself or if it's Switch hardware. But I've also seen that it's probably both. But I just don't see how like Nintendo felt okay as much as they gatekeep their own games from releasing because they're not ready or whatever, that they were just like, oh yeah, this looks good enough.
I almost wonder if they had any say in it. They might not.
They had to have at least something. I mean, it's still representative of them.
Was that a real statement I read earlier that said Game Freak hasn't heard anything from any fans about any performance problems with the game or something?
No way.
Doubt it.
All they have to do is look it up online and they'll see for themselves. Jesus.
If you just search Pokemon bug online, you will see dozens and dozens of people mad or laughing.
Like, it's
hard to get
horrible.
feedback with your head in the sand.
I mean, Game Freak to me comes off as such a strange company because to me, like recently they had that story from a Kit and Krista podcast where they were talking about where they were talking about how Game Freak was pissed off about them talking about a Nuzlocke challenge. And it's like they viewed it the exact same as like hacking or emulating Pokemon. Like what? All stuff you can do within the game. It has nothing to do with hacking or stealing or anything illegal. And they were like, oh no. We don't do that. No. Fun? No.
Yep.
So that to me right there tells me that Game Freak is a unique kind of company that might be, I don't know, loving the smell of their own farts or something. I'm not sure.
It's like they don't care. That's how it comes across to me. Is they just don't give a shit. Like,
as long as
know
they
they're
keep
gonna make
hitting their
bag.
sales targets. I mean,
Exactly.
And they will.
They know they're going to
sure.
get a stupid amount of money with every entry.
Also, two more things to be clear about. I sound really sick because I was sick, and I am sick right now. Just to make that clear. And
bro, your
another
orally is totally sick radical.
Yeah,
sick,
bro.
You're so sick.
Another thing, these games, because they're like a brand new structure for Pokemon, I'm sure a lot of people are having fun with them. We are not trying to take that away from anyone.
Sure, yeah, sure.
The new layout and structure of these games, I think looks awesome, and I would be excited to play this I mean, it's just look at it. Look at what we're seeing on screen right now. Like, how can I? What is happening?
You mean that's not supposed to happen? Is that a pickle? What is that?
It's a floating pickle spinning in the air.
And then there's the girl in photo mode going like this, and the boulders are coming like across and hitting her, but nothing's actually hitting her.
Love, though.
Like, yeah.
I love whenever there's a battle happening and someone just casually walking through it, like literally through their bodies.
Yeah, that's pretty great. But I think like the worst indictment of like everything involving the technical performance of these new Pokemon games is not even a Switch game. It's a Wii U game. Xenoblade Chronicles X. That was an open world game, and you could play it online with your friends. So you can't be like, "Oh, Breath of the Wild wasn't online. You weren't playing it with other people." This Wii U game was online, and it looks 10 times better than Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like, it's not an excuse.
No, but John, then someone's gonna send you a screenshot of how much smaller Game Freak's team is, as if that isn't possible to change, as if they're incapable of hiring more people.
Right.
The biggest IP in gaming history.
Pretty sure you got a big enough budget to hire a few more people there.
Probably a few hundred more people, to be honest.
But Brett,
John.
John. Fine.
John was first.
Sorry. I'm muting myself, okay?
I was just gonna add quick that like Monolith Soft, like they kind of like flaunt how the size of their studio is constantly growing. Like they regularly update like this big number on their website just to show you like how many people work there and like the breakdown of men versus women. And they're talking about how great everything is and all these projects they're working on. Like
and then Game Freak
like,
no Nuzlocks.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Brett, your turn.
No, it wasn't anything important.
So,
I didn't mean to cut
anyways,
you off.
I wanted.
What was
I
it
was
though,
just gonna
Brett?
say to Brett's point about like we don't want to take away from people that are having fun with it. Like it's definitely like at the end of the day, I'm sure it's still a fun game. Like especially if you're into those games, like 2 games that just got absolutely obliterated from like a critical standpoint because of glitches were Cyberpunk and Dying Light 2. And I saw past the glitches and still thoroughly enjoyed both of those games. At times I felt like I was giving Techland a pass because they're a lot smaller, you know, than Game Freak, but
I thought they have way more people than Game Freak.
Well, but I mean, from like a standpoint of like how much money they make, their games they bring in, or the money they bring in from their games and the success they've had. It's like you don't get much bigger than that as far as like revenue and things like that. So I don't know. But point I was trying to make is like it's still possible to have a game be fun if you can see past those things. Glitches to me in video games has always kind of been like one of those things where it's like it's kind of silly when it happens. I guess it kind of matters when the glitch happens. If it's in like a really important part of the game where it feels game breaking, then that sucks. But if it's just something like you see a guy sit down and then all of a sudden he's floating on air or something, and it's like just passing by, then it's just kind of something silly. But
how can like people not recognize that this is happening when it's like, look, here's an example, here's an example, here's an example.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I've been playing for like 40 hours and it's like, dude, like open your fucking eyes. Like I've seen it. I don't even play Pokemon.
The freaking performance is unavoidable. I'm not saying everyone has experienced these crazy glitches that we've seen, even though they probably have, but I'm not saying they have. But the performance is bad the whole time. I watched like a 45-minute Let's Play of the beginning of the game, and it was terrible. Like it's really bad. When you're sitting in the classroom, when you're sitting in a classroom, the frame rate is tanking because all the students are like kicking their feet and stuff, and it's running. It looks like a freaking Pokemon sprite from back in the day. Their feet do. So yeah,
I've caught like a couple people streaming it, and like they're not experiencing like the big bad glitches that like we keep seeing like the clips of, but like you do see like the little hiccups, the little lag, the little frame rate tanks, and I'm like, and like they're just rolling with it. They're having fun, but I'm just like, oh, see, everyone is having just those little tiny hiccups every now and then.
Yeah, and it's probably even worse than little tiny. They're just used to it. We're all used to Pokemon treating us this way, so we just don't even pay attention to it.
Yeah. That head spin, good lord.
But no, I will say when Pokemon Let's Go came out, I remember thinking this is a first good-looking game for Pokemon, even though it's like sort of the spin-off thing where you're using a literal Pokeball to control them, like a little accessory, like, and it wasn't a normal Pokemon game. I remember thinking like this looks pretty cool to see Pokemon in HD, to see these character models in HD and whatnot. And then when Sword and Shield first got shown off, I was like, okay, well that's a weird change for the art direction. It doesn't look nearly as good. And then we saw the open world sections of that game where the trees looked terrible, and then they were copy and pasted, so they were everywhere. Like the same terrible tree was everywhere. And then
I was actually going to bring that up. I was watching your video earlier. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and then with Arceus, it still was really ugly and had bad performance issues, but it was at least something brand new for the series. The performance issues didn't like pull you out of it much, but with this one, man, what I'm seeing is just complete unacceptable. Like that's just what it is. It's unacceptable for a studio that's supposed to be releasing the highest tier games, because it's a Nintendo IP basically, and it's freaking Pokemon. It makes more money than any other series, literally. We're not even just saying that. It's the biggest gaming IP ever. Like that is wild. And of course, that money does include all of the merchandise and whatnot, but still,
I mean, regardless,
so you can't allocate money for development. Like, I feel like it's, as an outsider looking in, like this is so odd to me that it just, you know, I wouldn't say lazy, but I think you were right in something along the lines of they just don't care, and like, I find that hard to believe that, you know, something that has so many unique characters and, you know, like you said, the merchandise outside of the game, something that is so important in the gaming sphere, that they didn't care enough to release something that doesn't look better or doesn't
Yeah.
perform better.
There was this old Pokemon image that used to float around that was like an edited version of Breath of the Wild that showed like the Pokemon in the world, and it was like, man,
Yeah.
that's what we're gonna get one day on Switch, because that was around the time the Switch came out. And no, far from
Nope.
it. We have not gotten even close to that level. Like
We
that
do
image.
finally know what the Nintendo 64 version looks like, though.
Yeah.
Gosh.
That was a
Seriously,
pretty
we're
deep
gonna be
cut
too-
there, John.
We're gonna be 2 generations away from this, and it's still gonna look like this shit. That's how I feel.
I
It's
mean,
like everything is moving forward graphically in the industry except for Pokemon.
it's not. It's moving backwards in some
Yeah.
cases.
It is.
Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse looking than Arceus, which I think was an ugly game overall, but it had an art direction that, like, if the sun was hitting right and you were in a decent environment, it was like, okay, this looks good. And the animations of the character were actually really good in that game. Like your main guy, the way his legs would rest on rocks and whatnot when you're like going up a hill, I was impressed by that. But it's not in this one, of course. It looks worse than Arceus, in my opinion. Like, a lot of people have said this is the best looking Pokemon game. That's why it performs bad. But I'm just like, where? Like, Arceus looks much better than this, in my opinion. And it still doesn't look good. It's still an ugly game, like, for the most part. So, I don't know. These
So you
videos
got
are
the-
freaking hilarious, though.
Oh yeah,
Oh, my
dude.
God.
I can
It's
seriously
so
sit and watch these. The one
Yeah.
with the girl her head spinning around. If you left that on the screen all podcast, I would just laugh the entire time. Like that shit was great.
But yeah, are we done trashing on Pokemon? Are you guys ready to talk about what we're playing?
Can we talk about
Yeah,
something
Yeah. So
more
with that,
important?
go out and buy Pokemon, kids.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't think I would have chosen Sprigatito. I think I would have chosen Fuecoco.
The evolutions look pretty bad, in my opinion. All of them.
Fuecoco's not bad. I don't know what it evolves into. I've seen like what it looks like. I don't know what it's called, but the fan art and the comics that are coming out of just no thought, head empty. Like Fuecoco is just the happiest little thing ever. I'm like, okay, at least something positive has come out of this game.
Yeah. But yeah, Pokemon, and of course this is a franchise aimed at children. So that's another thing I always hear people say. It's for kids. Why do you care? It's for kids. It doesn't matter. And I'm just like, so is freaking Mario. That's aimed at kids. So is Kirby. Have you seen those games? They look gorgeous. So
Yeah.
don't give me it's the for kids thing. So are Pixar movies. Pixar is the best animation in the
I was
business.
just about to say that. That's
Yeah.
funny.
I'm
yeah.
gonna quote the great Brett Medlock and say, "Kids are stupid and nobody should listen to them."
I did say that in my video.
Yeah,
Well, because
fuck kids.
a lot of people will think that I'm talking about the kids fighting for Game Freak on the internet. I don't care what the kids do. It's sad when I see a grown man with a
yeah.
beard fighting for Game Freak, being like, they have a small studio, they have short development cycles, 2 things they could quickly fix and
Yeah.
change. Okay. Back to our main, not our main topic. Well, this is kind of our Pokemon was our hidden main topic, but this is our main topic. Our hidden main topic is what we're playing. We haven't done an episode where we've really just been able to talk about what we're playing or just random topics and games that we've been wanting to talk about, because we're usually going over the news or we're talking about Pokemon being ugly. So today we're just gonna lay it all out. And the first person who's going to talk about what they're playing is Mary.
I was about to say, pick me for. I want to be first for once. So I want to rip this Band-Aid off.
I was going to say Brett, but he didn't fill out the sheet. So I was
Oh, well,
like,
I mean, that's because everyone knows what I'm playing.
Disappointed.
I didn't even see the sheet this week, but okay.
Oh, good. This is gonna be real fun then. So
Sorry,
I
Eric, I'll throw it out.
started Yakuza 0,
Ooh.
and I've stopped it. And I don't know if I'm gonna pick it back up or not.
Oh wow.
wow, abandoned.
Okay, I love the story. I love where it's going. I cannot do the fighting though. Like I am getting my
What?
ass kicked. Like I can't
Okay.
stand up. Like
Is
as,
there
like
really?
the stand up animation isn't even completed, and there's 4 dudes just pop 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 like, and I back down again. And then they kick me
Oh,
while I'm
geez.
down, and then I'm trying to stand back up, and again, and I'm literally a little fucking ping pong ball. Just I put my controller down, and I just watched Kiryu just try and get up, and just
Oh no.
Can you change the difficulty?
I'm
Yeah,
on normal.
Yeah,
Is
you
it
could bring
possible
Drop
to
that
change
shit to
Just
easy.
Yeah, there's
button
an easy
mash.
mode.
My ego doesn't let me go to easy
crank
mode.
that shit
So,
down to easy.
Just to get out of that scenario, at least.
Yeah, like
I
there's
don't
no shame in
know.
that. But so, all right, so my memory is a little fuzzy on the combat in that one in particular, just because I've played like almost
6,
everything now.
7
Yeah,
of
a
them.
lot. I've played a lot, but like honestly, I recall that being like comparatively one of the easier games. I think if you just learn how to parry, that'll probably help a lot. I think that's one of the games where you can just keep mashing like the block button and it doubles as parry. So you might be able to
Okay.
get out of attacks that way.
Okay.
So yeah.
Because
And also,
if I spam the dodge button, as soon as I get up, I can kind of pull myself back, but it depends on like what fighting style I'm using too.
Right.
On like if I can get that extra distance.
yeah. Well, for boss fights, it sometimes helps to switch to the fast style, whatever that's called, because some of them hit
Yeah.
really fast, and so you switch to that to keep up with them. But I was like stupidly stubborn, and I would like end up doing like the power one anyway, even when you're not
Yeah.
supposed to. But
Yeah. I haven't
I-
had
Yeah, I
trouble
feel-
with the boss fights. It's when I'm
okay,
out on the streets and just the stupid mobs. They
that's
just-
surprising.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm like. This shouldn't be like this. I don't think.
Have you done
I don't
any
know.
upgrades?
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe
Yeah.
there's just some like extra upgrades you still need that'll balance things out. I don't know. I don't know.
I've done some upgrades. I think I'm on chapter 7
Okay.
ish. I'm going to
With-
where like I wanna. It's like that when you're running through the street section, like,
Okay.
and they're all like coming after you.
Oh, you have to
So,
like
like-
hide.
Yeah, but then it gets to a
Oh.
point where like it was, or I don't know, maybe I wasn't stealthy enough, but it got to a point where just like one after another, and it was just like a nice like one fight into the next, and you're just running through the streets.
I
but,
remember with
like-
Majima, I just used the baseball bat form for
Oh,
the
yeah.
entire game. I didn't even use the other forms.
Yeah, when I was playing as Majima, I loved it. Like I
Yeah.
was like, I have a baseball bat, like, and it was fine, but it was mainly as Kiryu that I was just like, I have to be doing something wrong. Like,
Honestly, it kind of sounds like it, but I don't know how to diagnose it.
you're wrong.
Honestly, like sometimes in games, I mean, I it doesn't bother me to do this. I understand like some people are like, I can't let myself drop to easy. It's my pride. But even just to get through that section, like Brett said, just get through whatever's hard, and then like if you feel like you're comfortable, go back to normal. If you want to continue, I don't know, maybe you're just done with it. But if you did want to try and push through, I would just drop it to easy, level up a little bit, get through that section, and then maybe you'll have gotten better at it by that time. But
I don't know.
that's just me.
John?
I never feel bad about dropping it easy.
Yeah,
Did you
great.
play did you play that cult mission in Yakuza 0 where you have to go save the girl from the cult?
Yeah,
Jesus,
I think so,
spoilers,
if I'm thinking
spoilers,
of the right
giraffe.
one.
That's a
Yeah.
side mission, not really.
I'm
That
just
was
joking.
that
I
was
think it-
probably like the most unique and like weird and like funny mission that I
I
played in
think
the
I
entire
picked
game.
that
so
one
far.
up.
It's
Oh, did
cool.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I know
Like,
which one you're talking about.
In a much later game, I think they actually revisit it. Because like I was playing through it and there were parts that felt like really familiar, and it was like all done on purpose, and it ended up being really funny. So yeah, like that's another reason why I love this franchise. Like it's like one giant organism, and like you don't have to play them all, but if you do, it's extremely rewarding. But like, I know not everybody wants to spend like 300 hours of gameplay in the same place.
Yeah.
I get it. Not me though.
Mary, what's next on your list of games you're playing? Or should we
Yeah.
like go back and forth? I'm not sure how we should do this.
I say everyone just do others at once. I don't know.
Oh,
Up to you guys.
okay.
Though. I only
Whatever.
have one
Yeah,
game, so
no, that's fine.
Yeah, I didn't play a lot recently. I was playing Yakuza 0 and then I decided to put it down. Maybe I'll revisit it now that I've cooled down. So I don't know. I'll figure it out. Because I am having fun with it, and that's what I hate. It's like I don't want to quit it.
Yeah.
But like I've been sick since like last week, and so my sick weekend game ended up being Mass Effect Andromeda. So
Nice.
picked it up. I
Wild.
haven't
Very good game.
I haven't
I like it.
done a full playthrough since it came out. I realized like I've started it, I've stopped it for like various reasons, just like something else came up that I wanted to play more. And so now I've decided like, no, I'm gonna like do another start to finish playthrough of it. And I'm catching a lot more things this time, I think, than my previous playthroughs. Like I've realized like there's family members from like previous, or not the previous games, like from the Shepherd trilogy that are in this one. And I'm like, hold on a second, like I know that name. And they mentioned like, oh yeah, my brother, my cousin, da da da. And I was like, why didn't I notice this before?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been wanting to replay Andromeda. I haven't played it since it came out, and I played all the way through it in like a week. I loved it. I loved the gameplay. I liked the story stuff. It was no Mass Effect trilogy game, but it was still like, I thought it was great. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I remember enjoying. Oh, sorry, Brett. Go on.
No, you're good. It's your turn.
No, I was just saying that like I remember enjoying the game, and I liked it. I thought it was good. Of course, it's like you said, nothing compared to like the Shepherd trilogy. That's a very special, unique trilogy. But I did remember feeling that like just something was missing at the end of it. And so I'm curious to see if like I'll still feel like the same way this time. I always thought like maybe like a nice big chunky DLC would make it feel more like complete. But they ended up never releasing DLC for this.
Yeah, they
They're
canceled
just like,
it.
Yeah, they're just like, nope, here's the game. That's it. But like the Citadel DLC for Mass Effect 3, I think gave people that closure that they wanted with that game. Because like that was that's probably one of my favorite DLCs ever. And I tell people like, if you're only going to buy one DLC for the Mass Effect trilogy, buy the Citadel one. It is 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's great. With Andromeda, two things that I loved about it. I love the idea of coming to this new Andromeda galaxy and terraforming planets and making them livable, and having to wait to take people out of cryosleep. So like technically like you could be out, but your dad or your son could still be in it. And like you're like aging while he's still young, and it's just like the thought of that kind of stuff is really cool to me. Yeah. Unfortunately, they didn't explore it that much. It was just sort of what was happening, and they didn't talk about it much. But there were some side missions and whatnot where it's like, please, we really want to get our family out of the cryosleep or whatever it's called. And like you had to like basically choose like whether or not their family gets to come out or stay in. And I just really like that element. And also, Andromeda's combat is some of my favorite combat in all of like last gen, and honestly overall in gaming. I think it's amazing combat depending on what you use, because there's tons to choose from in this game. But I personally love the charge. You can rush all the way across the map and just punch someone in the face. That, along with like the force ability, like where you can literally grab them, control them, and then shoot them out to the sky. And then the other one was what was it? It was I think it's a similar thing to the force push, but basically you could grab someone, throw them out like up in the air as high up as you can see, and then use your charge ability, and you would literally fly up in the sky and punch them in the face. And then as you're falling, you can just shoot people with your gun. It was freaking awesome. It's just such an underrated combat system. And then, like there were some other cool ones that I always wanted to try and never did, like the flame attack and stuff.
Oh yeah, like I keep talking over you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
I looked at what achievements I didn't have, and I started doing combat and like build outs based on like trying to get those achievements, but it's also forcing me to play in a different way that I probably wouldn't have, like the flamethrower, and there's one to like throw enemies into each other. And I normally wouldn't choose biotic. I usually did like a lot of like the tech stuff. So I'm having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, like whenever I play it again, because I plan to, I'm gonna want to use my old, like my old set that I had of the special abilities. But at the same time, I want to experience something new, because that like all the abilities look really cool. And I really hope the next game just builds on top of what they already did, because I don't think anyone complained about the combat in Andromeda. It was like everything else that people didn't like.
Yeah,
the entire rest of the game.
Yeah,
there's everything.
Literally everything but that. No, I was saying to, me and Mary talked about this before the show started. Like, I thought that I played all four for the first time last year, back to back. And I thought I was going to Andromeda expecting like something pretty shit because of like how many people I heard talk about like how big of a disappointment it is. I thought it was perfectly fine. Like it makes me wonder if Andromeda existed in a world where there was no Mass Effect trilogy, if it would have been received like, oh my God, that was great, like a 9 or something, you know? But because it was after this, like one of the most beloved trilogies of all time, like it was hampered because of its expectations.
I remember one of the big things that killed this game's launch was it released early on EA Access. And so that means people had, like, they had it early technically before the reviews were even out. The reviews were after the game was like public to everyone.
Really?
Yeah, it was really strange.
Oh,
That sounds
I
like a
don't remember
disaster.
And then everyone was just uploading the worst moments of the game, like the facial
No.
glitches.
Yeah, the eyes.
People were manipulating the running animation to make him look like he's like a penguin running. And then it just trended like crazy. Like, in just like Andromeda was immediately known for being shitty before it even officially launched, like physically. And this was back when people actually bought a lot of physical games, so like they were still waiting for it because they didn't want to play the digital version.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just crazy that sort of like hurt them in the end, their little EA Access thing. I think it was like 7 days early, 5 days early or something, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Oh.
I don't remember.
That's
'cause
wild,
I got it
yeah.
on PS4, so I was like one of the people who like got a physical copy.
Yeah. I got it on PlayStation, and EA Access didn't exist on there at the time. But yeah, that's a good game. Any other games on your list, Mary?
Those are the main two. The other things I think I put on there are just stuff that I just fill my time with. Hades, Genshin Impact. Oh, we were talking about Pokemon. This is Pokemon related. I'm actually going to start a Soul Link Nuzlocke soon.
man.
Not if Game
Not on
Freak has anything to say
Pokemon's
about it.
I know. So I'm mentally preparing.
So for us that
myself
don't
for
know,
that.
what the hell is a Nuzlocke?
So yeah, so basically a Nuzlocke it's like self-imposed rules. Like, so you can play this like we were saying, which it's weird that Game Freak has such an issue with it because you're not
Or
modifying
they
the game
did.
itself.
Apparently, they don't anymore.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, or did have a problem with it at one point, but like they're self-imposed rules. Your starter, you can either pick yourself or you pick based on like the last number of your trainer number. But then once you like enter an area, the first Pokemon you encounter is the Pokemon you have to catch. And if you if you don't catch it, or like it gets away, it dies, it KOs, whatever, it's gone, and you cannot catch another Pokemon for that route.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the Pokemon in your party, once they faint, they're gone. You cannot use them again. You either have to release them or
Permadeath.
you have to box them.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
it's
say, it's
basically
almost like
permadeath.
permadeath.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah. I've done a Nuzlocke once. I lost 6 Pokemon.
Jeez.
It was tragic. I had actual nightmares. Like I was having bad dreams about my Nuzlocke. I was so stressed over it.
Oh, that's
well,
amazing.
And it was like so painful because I lost an Arcanine. I manipulated the game. I looked up what Pokemon I could catch in a certain area, and I caught everything else in other areas to ensure that the only Pokemon I could catch was a Growlithe. So I got my
Smart.
Growlithe, I got my Arcanine. It was a very late game. I'm very casual Pokemon player, so if y'all already knew this, you're gonna laugh at me. I was gonna use Dig. My opponent used Earthquake.
Oh,
4
jeez.
times the damage because my Arcanine was underground.
Oh,
He
wow, I
died
didn't know
underground.
that
He was
mechanic.
already 6 feet under.
Yep. Yep, already there. Already in his grave. I lost my Arcanine. And Roy, who's in chat right now on Twitch, was actually the one who named it. My Arcanine was named Roy. But yeah, so I'm gonna do another one of these because I love to torture myself apparently. But this time it's gonna be a Soul Link. So I'm gonna play with my friend Kelly, which means my Pokemon in slot 1 and her Pokemon in slot 1 are like linked. So if she kills her slot 1 Pokemon, mine dies as well.
Shit.
So it's extra pressure on each other
Yikes.
to keep things alive and don't do risky moves like make your Arcanine Dig against an opponent that can apparently use Earthquake. So
Dang.
I'm gonna be starting that soon. Like I said, I'm mentally preparing myself for this.
That's hilarious. All right. Well, then next up, we'll just toss it to Brett Larson, who's only playing one game. How is God of War
You say it's so
Ragnarok?
depressing. Like, he's only playing one game. You piece of shit. You play 3 games or you're off the podcast.
Yep.
This poor loser taking care of his family and going to his job.
Piece of
This
garbage.
piece of shit. You need to be going into work late and leaving early and playing more games. You got it?
Yep. You should at least
I'm playing
throw in some multiplayer games in there.
Yeah, well, it's funny because right before God of War, I was playing Call of Duty, but we don't have to get into all that. But I am playing Goat of War, or I like to call it the Game of the Year of War.
All right. So he's a liar.
John laughed, but no one else did. I think he gave me a courtesy laugh.
I support my people.
John's so charitable.
It's weird because I was like so anticipating this game and I was thinking I'm just gonna fucking fly through it. But I've kind of like taken my time with it. Even Brett last night was like, or a couple nights ago, was like, I'm surprised you haven't beat that game yet. And it's like part of it is because I'm like taking my time with it. Part of it is I haven't been able to like, there's only been a couple nights since it came out where I was able to like stay up till 4 a.m. and be irresponsible, you know. And other nights I've only been able to play like an hour here, hour there. And ever since Brett gave me shit about not doing side stuff, I've been doing more side stuff. So I'm not as far as I could be, but I will say there is a definite ebb and flow in this game in terms of pacing. And this is one of the things that I'm not going to take anything away from Brett because he's going to talk about it. But one of his things that his complaints of the game was that it slows down quite a bit. And it does. I'm not even going to pretend like it doesn't. It definitely slows down. For me, it never slowed down to the point of like being bored to tears or anything like that. But there's definitely a difference from the opening hour and a half to then once it kind of opens up and you're trying to figure things out along the way. There's puzzles, and not that puzzles are bad, but sometimes I will agree with this sentiment. It's like you're a god. You're fucking Kratos.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Thank you.
No, you're Kratos, and you can't get through a wooden door because there's a gear that you have to fucking throw something at to get to spin. Like,
Just
you see
break
the
it,
man.
dude.
I hate stuff like that. Yeah.
Dude, seriously, you see the man punch boulders and shatter them, but he can't open a wooden door. Like, come on, man. Like,
Right.
seriously.
Yeah.
Like,
I hate
so-
stuff like that in games. Just it's so
Yeah,
dumb.
so some of that is kind of annoying. A lot of the people complain. The other thing that a lot of the complaints people are getting is there's a lot of moments where, like, transition moments where like you have to like shimmy between like walls, and a lot of people think that that's what the developers are using to cover up like a loading between one section to another, which is probably true. And if that's true and it's in it that many times, it's likely because it was hampered by being a PS4 game as well. But to me, until I started getting those, like seeing those complaints online, I never really know. Like, I obviously noticed them, but it never bothered me, and it still doesn't bother me. But those are like the two like critiques that are like, okay, those are legitimate. Like, I understand them.
Would you
But
rather
for
have taken
me-
a longer load screen there than have those
No,
moments?
definitely not. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's never bothered me, but I didn't even really like. I didn't even really notice them like from a standpoint of like, oh, this is kind of a nuisance until people started talking about it online.
Hmm.
But so those two things out of the way, it slows down for sure. There's no question. It's a long game. It has its slow moments. However, I am now to the point where things are picking up again a big way, and it gets like pretty batshit crazy. So it goes like, it starts off on like this huge high note, and then there's a little while where it's kind of slow and it's building up characters, and there's I won't say anything as far as story wise, but it goes slow for a while, and then all of a sudden something happens and shit gets wild again. And so I'm right in the middle of like the chaos, and it's like once things pick back up, it's like when it's doing some of the things it's doing right now, it's like God tier. No pun intended. I said that Brett the other day too. No pun intended. It's like God tier good. Like some of the moments in this game, but I do understand like where people are coming from with when it slows down. My defense of that is, when a game is this long, what doesn't slow down? Like you're gonna have that in video games.
Typical Sony pony.
What do I know? I'm just a fucking Sony pony, right? But no, overall, I think it's phenomenal. And like I said, the section I'm on right now, it's starting to like really pick up, and it's awesome right now. So I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, with God of War, I'm enjoying it. I think it's good. I just think during these slow parts, and if I stop playing like in the middle of one of the slow parts, I never feel inclined to get back to it quickly. So I take like day-long or like 2-day-long breaks where I just don't even pick it up and I'm just playing other stuff.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I'll get to that. But as for the game, though, the story and stuff's really good. I think the writing is really solid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a little more jokey than the first game, which I'm not sure how I feel about yet. It depends on how bad it gets. I'm still fairly early in the game. But it's not as serious as the first game. But I don't think that's really taking away from anything right now. Because I'm typically actually laughing at the little jokes they make. I think they're pretty smart and clever.
Yeah, there's a lot of like little quirks between characters. I know what you mean. Like especially like Mimir, he cracks me up sometimes. The head that he carries around.
Yeah.
I just want to say this one final thing too that I thought was cool is the 2018 God of War. As far as like from a combat perspective, it was fairly different from the original God of Wars, where if you play the original God of Wars, you know that the enemies you fight are like fucking like massive towers. Like there's like ungodly large enemies. And you just didn't see that in the 2018 God of War. Like there were some big enemies, but nothing like otherworldly big. And then on this one, it kind of goes back to its roots a couple times, and you fight these massive creatures, which I love because that kind of like brought it back to the originals, which I thought was cool. So
I'm excited to get to those spots because I have not yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's good. I don't. It's not like blowing my socks off or anything. With 2018, I played through the whole game in the span of like 3 days, and the game's like 30 something hours long. So I played it like all day, every day. But it was mainly because I had to review it and I had to beat it before the embargo lifted. But this game just doesn't like. I feel like I'm playing that same game, but not as intriguing because I've already done it before. I do like the character Freya a lot, and we're finally starting to get back to her a little bit and where I'm at. And I really hope they expand on her character because she, in my opinion, is the most interesting part of the game because she connects to the original. All these other guys are mostly new, and I like the dynamic between Kratos and Freya and her just wanting revenge on him, basically, and seeming like she's holding back even though she's constantly trying to kill him, which I think is hilarious. Yeah. Like, because the game does a time jump, which is no spoilers. I mean, the kid's way older now, but and it opens up.
Dropped. His voice is dropped.
His voice is low now. Now he's like, Dad.
Yeah, but, exactly. I just love how they made Thor like just a fat drunk piece of shit in this game. Like, it's great.
I liked him a lot so far. I haven't seen him much since the beginning, but I'm sure he'll be back.
Yeah, I love the actor that plays him from Sons of Anarchy. He was also in Walking Dead. Like as soon as you hear him talk, he's like one of those distinct voices that you're just like, oh, yeah, I can't unhear it. I know who this actor is, but he does a good job though.
Yeah, all the acting is phenomenal. And that's pretty much. I don't have much to say about God of War, only because it's not like wowing me, but it's also not bad. I don't think it's bad by any stretch. It's just a little slow sometimes, and then when it is, I'm just not really super into it. So I'm really like I'm going way slower than Brett through the game. Like I would have beaten it by now if this was like 5 years ago, but now I just have so many damn options, and it's like, man, I just kind of want to play Persona 5 or 4. I actually finished off Xenoblade Chronicles, which I don't remember if I finished if I talked about it last week, but I'll definitely talk about it later. But yeah, Brett, that's all you're playing, so I guess I'll just throw it to Greg. How's Bayonetta 3 treating you?
I've shit on it enough.
Are you continuing it? Are you still gonna finish?
Yeah,
gonna see it through?
I'm definitely gonna see it through. I want to finish the game. The story is intriguing enough for me to keep playing, but man, I had some frustrating moments in like the sand level, and it was just like trying to do like platforming and grab these do one of the challenges. I haven't felt that mad in a long time, and I was ready to throw my controller. And I was like, calm down. It's expensive to buy another one. And I was just I want to like the game so much, and my sentiments really haven't changed. It's a mostly good, not great game, and there's there's some levels and characters that you can unlock that I'm like, oh, this is really cool. This is really interesting. This is different. This feels like solid combat. I'm chaining all these combos together, and then something ugly happens, and I'm just like, nah, can't believe I had such a great experience up until now. But I am definitely getting better at getting more platinum medals for combat and battles and stuff like that, and really getting a grasp of the dodge mechanic for all characters. So at least there's that. Outside of that, I've been playing Warzone. So I jumped on the Warzone 2 bandwagon. Definitely a different game than coming back to it after not playing it for like years, after playing it with like a bunch of my friends. We used to get squads together and play and have a good time. And definitely different after playing Apex for so long. It's a lot slower in many aspects, and it's just different combat. And it's one thing that I do appreciate about Apex Legends is like it's so colorful. It has character. The legends each feel different, unique. The combat's faster. Sniping feels more. Like I get a better satisfaction out of getting headshots in Apex Legends than I do Call of Duty Warzone. But it's definitely feeds that old Call of Duty feel that I've been missing, especially since playing the multiplayers over the years and stuff like that. So I'm getting better. And I swear to God, proximity chat is the funniest fucking thing ever. Like going into an area, and like you go into a building and people are whispering, and
It doesn't
they're
make
in
a
the building.
difference.
But it's so
It's
funny.
funny though. Yeah, there's some
Like,
funny
it is
moments
like-
from it.
Like this dude was like, "Hey, Poppy, don't kill me, Poppy." I was like, "I'm gonna kill you." He's like, "No."
It's like a perfect thing for like streaming or something. Like it's just
it's
comedy.
and surprisingly, you don't get a lot of like the that I haven't experienced anyway. A lot of the like racist bullshit that people spew out, but like I killed some dude or I knocked him, and he was like, "Hey, have you heard the new Drake album?" And I'm like, what? It's entertaining, but it's also it makes you mindful of like how you're communicating with your team. Like, oh, there's one over here, and
Right.
the other dudes are like, "Oh, you aren't gonna find us," and they're like, "Fuck you," and drop in on you or whatever. But it makes
Then
for
you
some
see-
really. Oh, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, then someone says a mom joke and
Yeah.
chaos ensues.
Yeah, but I do like it for the being very aware of like your spatial awareness in like a building, who's close, who can hear you, what tactics you can deploy to kind of win those small battles here and there. But yeah, I'm having a good time with it. Still playing Apex Legends, still grinding the new season. Met some people actually in Warzone that want to team up for Apex, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, I definitely want to get back to Yakuza and finish that out. And I think I'll do that. I have a nice little break from work, so some games to play.
I played Warzone 2 as well, and
Brett
I did
played a battle
2
royale.
rounds.
I
I
never thought I'd
did.
say that.
I actually, from what I played of the original Warzone, and it was not a lot at all. So trust me, like you can just take everything I say with a grain of salt. But I had more fun with Warzone 2, and I'm not not particularly sure why. I only did 2 rounds, and we did good both rounds, and we won the second one. So it was pretty intense
Nice.
there at the end.
Dude, that's not easy to do, man. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, CJ was surprised we won because he was mad because I didn't want to do like a 4-player team and then like do chat with them, and I just don't like talking to strangers. So I said, let's just do duos and then be in a party chat so we don't have to hear other people talking, because that's not what I want to do, to be honest. And he said, all right, fine. And he's like, I didn't expect us to actually win in duos, so that was pretty cool. And I got a decent amount of kills too. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I feel like I beat the game now, so I don't really have to play it ever again. I won. I did it.
Is there any
over.
respawns? Is there any respawns in that mode you played, Red, or is it just like a true battle royale? Like
you
one
go
death in
to the
round?
gallows. Is that what it's called?
The gulag.
The gulag.
The gulag?
Okay, yeah. Okay.
The gallows.
The gallows. That sounds like something it would be
Oh,
called.
this is where they take someone to like cut their heads off or something.
Yeah.
Or, like hang them.
Oh, mate, welcome to the gallows.
Yeah, unfortunately, we lost the first one in the gallows or the gulag, and then the second one we never had to go back. We just won it. It was a lot of fun.
It's funny, like even in when people go to the gulag, if other players are on the outside of the arena where the gulag is taking place in the game, you can still hear them on proximity chat. They can like,
Yeah.
I've seen them
cheer
like
you on, or,
sabotaging. They're like, yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
kill the jailer, and they're like, and then the other team ends up shooting the other team,
Wait.
and it's like,
The gulag is on the map.
yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. I didn't know that.
That I saw a video, Greg, where the people were in the gulag because apparently if you take too long, this jailer comes out with like unfair weapons and just mows you
Yeah.
down if you don't kill
he
each
has
other.
a minigun.
So yeah, so the people at the start, they're like, let's call a truce. And he's like, let's go get the jailer. And the other guy's like, okay, fuck it, I've never done that. And the video is them just calling a truce and trying to kill the jailer. It was
Yeah.
great. And they actually did it surprisingly, even though the jailer is like insanely like over the top strong. But
Yeah.
he came in and just started meleeing him in the back of the head because he's slow until he died. It was pretty good. But and we lost Brett. He was in the middle of what he is playing, I think.
Interesting.
I think he had to poop.
He's gone. He might
Oh,
have
man.
had to poop. So what he is pooping.
There's a dog investigating Brett's area. Perhaps we could ask the dog what the dog's
Hey.
been playing.
You know what that means? Usually the dog is like, we've got around 10 to 20 minutes left in the show is when his dog starts coming around. So,
He knows. Dexter knows.
good old Dexter.
Oh, we're still the
Back in
dog's
the
still there.
All right, I'm back. Now that was all Greg was playing aside from Apex, and which you always
A
play.
little bit of Halo.
Yeah, we played Halo together. I can't remember if that was this week, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. Fiesta mode never
What's that
gets old
game?
to me.
Xbox.
And then last was John. John, what are you playing? Oh yeah, and then me after John.
And
Wait, no, let's properly read the games he's playing, Brett. Come on.
They're
Oh, we
gone.
deleted them. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. I put
They
real
were
games
funny.
in there.
Damn it. All right.
All right,
fine.
so I guess if we do things chronologically, I put a few hours into Sonic Frontiers, and I didn't
Ooh.
dislike it. Like I think my first session I played for I don't know, like at least 2 hours, like maybe 2.5 or whatever. And I did enjoy going around the open world, just sort of screwing with things. Like it's cool how the whole game is designed to just sort of flow from one random excuse to run to the next. I think they actually did a nice job with that aspect. It's like really unfocused though. Like it's not really clear like why you're doing half the things you do, and if the things you're collecting actually matter for things that are important to gameplay. So the first time I played it, I was like, all right, this has promise. I'll probably keep playing this. And then the next time I played, I think I played for like an hour, and then I uninstalled it like right after.
Oh jeez,
So,
not a fan.
yeah.
Rip.
So I decided to move on to the quarry.
John is not afraid to uninstall a game. Like he did the
He's
same with
not.
Horizon. He's like, yeah, I just figured I'm done. Uninstall that shit.
Yeah.
I can't do that, man. I
No, it
keep
gives me
them
anxiety.
installed for years.
I can't do it. Even if I beat a
I've-
game, I'm like, well, I'll just keep it around just in case.
Yeah, I'll
well,
archive it.
Same.
What makes it easier is the fact that the PlayStation 5 has like no storage space in the first place. So you have like 10
Yeah.
games and like your time to delete something. So
Yeah.
so like with Sonic, my main grievances ended up being, well, number one, maybe this is sacrilege, but in this particular version of Sonic, I don't even care about doing the actual levels. So when I saw that it like wants you to hit certain goals in order to unlock extra stuff from the regular levels, right away that was a
Ah,
huge turnoff because I don't want to be
yeah.
bothered to play them in the first place. I just want to screw around in the open world. So that was like strikes 1 and 2. And then when I realized that the open world has like all these things to do and they're marginally fun on their own, but just the fact that I don't know what's supposed to matter and I don't know what's supposed to incentivize me to keep exploring. And my answer very quickly became nothing. There's nothing incentivizing me. So I just figured, life's short. Eventually I'll die. I just can't risk spending this time playing Sonic Frontiers. So
My shorts run fast.
I've been playing a little bit throughout the week as well, and I'm still enjoying it for what it is. I think it's just fun to control Sonic in this game, which is
Yeah.
rare. For a Sonic game, he's usually kind of hard to control or just annoying. And I enjoy like how it's much slower than previous Sonic games. You can actually understand what's happening a lot better.
usually.
Yeah, usually. And I like that there's actual combat, like you're actually punching and kicking, and then like some abilities you unlock are actually pretty cool. And they're kind of strange. Like there's a deflect attack, and you can literally just hold it. Like you don't, like with God of War or with Gotham Knights or something, you have to like time it right when they hit you. You can just sit there and hold R and L, and then he'll just be like this, and then once they hit you, it's like just immediately deflected because you're holding those buttons. I just think it's kind of funny. But I mean, it's a Sonic game, so I feel like it's kind of makes more sense because typically you're running around doing stuff. So when you stop and do that, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe they tried versions that aren't like that and it didn't work out as good. But
Yeah.
but yeah.
I think controlling him, it felt okay overall. The combat was definitely one of the low points for me. Like climbing the Titans, like it just kind of felt
Oh yeah, I didn't
Eh.
like the Titan fights. I don't like those.
yeah.
But the smaller enemies, I think is kind of fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to spend the whole night complaining about Sonic. Bottom line, it's deleted. It's not coming back. But I replaced it with the Quarry, which had like a 50 gigs plus like another 20 for like an update or something, some crazy install. But the Quarry was cool. So Until Dawn is one of my favorite games I ever played because it was just so unique. Like it's a horror
Yeah,
game.
I
It's a
loved
horror
it.
movie that you play. And I don't even like horror movies. I don't watch horror movies typically. But this was so unique that I just like really, really loved it. And then Man of Medan came out and it was garbage and I never played another Dark Pictures. So I've been waiting for like a meaty, real sequel to Until Dawn.
The third Dark Pictures was actually decent, but yeah, Man of Medan wasn't very good.
Awful. I hear that they get progressively a little better, but I'm not willing to find out. I was
Yeah.
burned so bad by that first
Yeah.
one. I was like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, that one made me never really want to play any of the others.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
that's exactly what happened. I was like, oh, this is so terrible. And I don't do anything with friends anymore. I'm an old man, but I invited friends, actual humans, to play this with me. And
And
then
it
I
was
was like,
boring
this
as hell.
sucks. Yeah. One of my friends got sick and had to go, and she was a lucky one. But anyway, with the Quarry, it does feel like that sequel to, not a literal sequel, but a follow-up to Until Dawn. And the first half of the game I was really happy with because it was just more of what I wanted, which is like stupid, kind of just barely likable teenagers getting in sexy situations and then maybe
Ooh.
dying.
The sex pervert.
Sex
And
pervert.
so
Remember that throwback?
of course. That Doug Bowser, they'll catch him one of these days. But-
Sex pervert. Specifically, the pervert of the sex persuasion.
And to be clear, Doug Bowser's never done anything. It's just our running gag. But
Yeah.
anyway, so the first half was like everything I wanted it to be, and I was really happy with it. It has like lots of nice mysteries it sets up, and like One thing I
Mary's
liked about
dying laughing.
I can't laugh that much. I'll start coughing really bad.
I'll try not to kill you.
Thank you.
So what I appreciated about Until Dawn, well, to be fair, like I don't watch a lot of horror, so it's kind of easy to like trick me into where things are going because I don't really know the rhythms of where all these things go. But that game had like at least like 3 different like entities, so to speak, that like could be some kind of bad guy. And by the end, you figure out where the pieces land. And in the
Yeah.
Quarry, it's more like there's like 5 potential bad guy entities, and you're trying to figure out which ones are good or bad or both. And so I really liked that. But then about like halfway into the game, the momentum just kind of stops because it takes a time out to sort of start explaining what's been going on. And once that happens, it just never really gets its momentum back because it stops being about the sexy teenagers doing stupid things. Like they're still there, but it's not like it's much more now. It's about, okay, we're in this lore that we've created now. So that initial energy is just kind of lost.
Yeah.
But
That's a
also,
bummer.
it's like way easier for people to die in this game compared to Until Dawn.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Well, at least one of the deaths was totally on me. The game tricks you, like, so you know it's possible to win the game with everybody living through the night, but there's one situation where if you actually treat the game like that, someone ends up getting their head literally ripped off.
What the
Oh my
fuck?
God.
Because I trusted the game to let things work out that everyone lives, somebody died. Which
Of course.
admittedly, that's actually kind of clever. So like on one
Yeah.
hand, I was furious, but on the other hand, I was like, bravo, video
Yeah.
game. Well
Yeah.
done. So, I won't begrudge him that one. But there were like some other deaths. So I was like, oh man, really? So I want to play through the game one more time to see if I feel any differently with like everybody living, because naturally the instant the game was done, I looked up a fax and like looked up everything I had to do to keep everyone alive. So we'll see.
What's
there,
what was the total playtime?
Like 15,
uh,
10 hours, something like that.
it's like 9 to 10 hours,
That's
somewhere
not
in
bad.
there. Yeah, no, it's not. And I got it for like I think $20, so it's like totally worth
Wow.
$20. It's
It
definitely worth
launched
it
at
for
70,
$20.
which was kind of
Yeah,
surprising.
that's pretty
Oh,
good.
did it?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Really?
There's
Shit.
one criticism I heard, John. Tell me if you noticed this, but apparently, like the game is actually can look like really pretty at times, but apparently there's a part where like you're in a boat in the water, and the water looks like so absurdly bad that it almost is like, how did this get in this game? Because the rest of the game is kind of, looks really good. But I don't know if you'd noticed that, but I'd heard a couple of
He
complaints.
said he's
about
playing the
that.
Quarry, not Pokemon.
Honestly, I don't remember that. So like if it was bad, like it couldn't have bothered me that much. But now that you say that,
Yeah,
I
you have
do
to
feel
watch
like there
for
was well, no, that's funny. I do feel like there's a game I watched recently where I saw the water and was kind of like, that's looking kind of eh.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the game, honestly. Like I don't remember. Like maybe it was that. Like that or Sonic Frontiers, but
Yeah, the way someone described it was like the old water from like Wave Racer when it comes in like lines, like it was so bad. They're like, how did this get snuck into this game? Because at times it's like pretty jaw dropping, like some of the facial animations and stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's some scenes where like it's purposely like really low lighting and like it genuinely looks like an live action movie. Like
Sure.
it's brief moments, but nevertheless, in these moments, it's like, wow, like you're just watching a movie. But that being said, if you play on PlayStation and you have like HDR on your TV, like a modern TV, you have to like really crank up the lighting. Because I played like half the game without touching the lighting. It was sometimes the screen was like literally almost black. And I was
Wow.
like, what the hell did these devs do? Like it's not fun for it to be this dark, even if that's realistic. But it
Yeah.
turns out I think it's just like some sort of bug if you play on like PlayStation with HDR. So I cranked the lighting like super high up to make it like a normal video game, and then I was getting less frustrated. But I was like literally wandering in the dark, and I was like, what kind of stupid game design is this? Just wandering around a literally black screen. It's like, okay. But apparently it's not an issue on the other platforms, so just something to be aware of.
Sounds like something Sony would do. Pieces of shits.
Brett, quit trying to change people's perspective on you with Sony.
I'm just trying to lead you on so you can start it on them.
Lion crying Jim Ryan at it
Lion
again.
crying,
Crying Jim
dancing
Ryan.
on fire, Ryan.
And
John,
yeah,
I was gonna say you're also playing
yes.
Zelda and Punch Out random.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So
That.
I've been reviewing a book called NES Works 1987 by Jeremy
Oh, yeah.
Parrish, which is from Limited Run Games and their new like book printing imprint called Press Run. So they sent me a bunch of free stuff, and so
Pretty
I've been
sure
reading
he
this
used
book.
to work at IGN, I think.
He's possibly he's been around forever. Like he's a name I've just sort of known. But anyway, so as the name of the book would suggest, he wrote a book that's like all of the NES games that released in America in 1987. And it just so happens that this was like a major year. So it was like Zelda, Metroid, Kid Icarus, the original Mega Man. So this
Damn.
book kind of rules. Yeah. And Punch Out. So anyway, just from reading this book, it kind of got me in the mood to like revisit a lot of these old NES games. So in one night, I played through a little of Rygar, I played through Punch Out, and I played through the original Legend of Zelda. And I think I got further in potentially like all three of them than I ever had as like a little kid. I had Punch Out and Zelda as like a little kid because my older brother had them, but like Zelda was hard and confusing, and I'd rather just play A Link to the Past on Super Nintendo. So that's what I
Yeah.
usually did. But like, man, like replaying it now, it's like I see even more of what Breath of the Wild was riffing on with the original Zelda. It's like it's the exact same feeling, and this part I knew. You're just dropped into a world and you're just told to figure it out. And like that's it. Like it's like Tunic these days, right? Which I still need to play. So
Yes.
Fuck that game.
And I think they said they made the world in like one sitting.
What?
Like they
Really?
sat down to make Zelda. Yeah, I keep
Mm.
watching the same documentary over and over about Super Mario World, and I don't know. That's such a magical era. But
Totally.
anyways, they were talking about how they sat down together. I think it was Miyamoto and somebody else on
Mm.
paper and created the Zelda world in like one sitting. That's just so
You know,
wild.
NBD.
Weird.
Yeah, you know.
Coloring squares in.
Just casually dreaming up one of the most influential games of all
Right.
time. You know, whatever. This is pretty easy. It's alright.
Changed
So-
video games forever, and they did it in like a couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny. I remembered some things from when I was a little kid, and I remembered some things from watching my brother play. Like I remembered like this hyper specific tree that you burn and there's a secret, and I have no idea how you're supposed to know about it otherwise, but I knew. But I remembered where Dungeon 1 was. I remembered where Dungeon 3 was. It took me an hour of just wandering around the map to find Dungeon 2. And I love that because that's just not really a thing that happens very much anymore. So I just really love that the game is like 100% discovery, like all the time. You never know what you're going to run into next. And so I love that. It's still really hard. I've died a ton of times, like a ton of times, but I'm enjoying it. And once I finish up some other stuff, I hope to get back to it. So yeah, that's what I'm
Awesome.
playing.
All right, I'm playing through God of War as well. I talked about it a little bit. I'm enjoying it. I'm hoping that it gets better. And from what Brett is saying, I think it is. I think it's going to get a lot better. It just sucks that we have to get through hours of slowness and, frankly, kind of boring gameplay with puzzles and whatnot.
Watch the words you're using, Brett.
I
Watch
wish
it.
half of the puzzle sections were just combat scenarios that were fun, like or in a
Yeah.
unique environment,
Yeah.
like just
Like,
smashing things.
to get through section, you got to collect like one piece of a gem from 3 different bosses or something like that. Yeah, as opposed to like a stupid puzzle.
Yeah, like that would be more fun. It just there's not enough combat. It feels like, which is weird
That changes.
In
That
God
compared
of
to how
War.
much. Yeah, in God of War, it's just kind of strange.
No, that
But I-
definitely changes.
God of casual encounters.
Visual encounters. But I won't talk too much more on that. Aside from that, I started Persona 5 Royal, which I've never played Royal. I've only played Persona 5. I gave like 105 hours of my life to the original, and then they announced Royal, and then I felt pissed off. So I didn't want to start it, but I just keep on hearing on a lot of podcasts I listen to, like, man, that last third of Persona 5 Royale changed how I felt about the game. It was like this transcending experience that was like amazing, and just it's worlds better than Persona 4. Okay, maybe they're not being that crazy about it, but people have said that they didn't like Persona 5 as much as 4 until they played Royal in the last semester. So that makes me want to play it so I can truly see what they're talking about, because I just feel like there's no way that Persona 5 is better than Persona 4, but I first have to get there, which means playing through most of what I've already played through before. Either they've changed some little things in the game and added like new dialogue stuff, or I just don't remember much, because I'm playing through the game and a lot of it feels pretty damn fresh. Like, I remember all the environments and the overall story, but like a lot of the little conversations and even like little environments I don't fully remember. So that's kind of nice. It doesn't feel like something that I've done already completely. And Persona 5 is awesome. It's probably one of the best JRPGs ever. It's just no Persona 4 to me.
Yes.
But I'm going to see how I feel about Royal. Maybe I'll end up loving Royal. I just don't see how. Like, Persona 4 was a murder mystery, and that's one of the reasons why it was so good, like the story. And like, it made the story and like all the characters like getting around the table trying to figure out this mystery more fun than the characters in Persona 5, which are trying to steal hearts. That's just not as interesting to me. I really like that element of Persona 4, like feeling like you're a real team trying to figure something out and having like long conversations, like long pieces of dialogue talking about, well, it couldn't be this because of that, but it could be this because of that. And then all leading to me being actually surprised with who the murderer was, who the person throwing people in the TV world was. Like, I was genuinely surprised. And aside from that, I beat Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I think I talked about it last week, but I'm not sure. I thought it was amazing.
I think you were
The
close
ending-
to the end last week.
Oh, okay, yeah. The ending was really good. I talked to John about it. It's a huge spoiler, but I finally know what he's talking about with the Easter egg for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which is hilarious.
It's
One of the best Easter
crazy.
eggs I've ever seen in a game possible. It's just freaking funny. Like, it's that was funny, but then like the actual ending with the characters was sad. Like, I had tears rolling down my face because I was like, man, this is just sad. Like, this was a long adventure these characters had. And I obviously won't go any deeper than that, but it's really good and everyone should play it. I'm so happy it got nominated for Game of the Year. And then Halo Infinite, of course, the winter update came out. I am loving it. Unfortunately, unless you have a lot of friends, which I don't, you can't really get into custom games easily. You can find someone who's like a YouTuber and like go to their Discord and try and figure out with those people what they're playing, hop in with them. But that's just too much work for me. I'm just going to wait for season 3. And until then, I'm just going to continue to play Fiesta and the normal matchmaking mode and enjoy my 2 new maps that they added to
And
the game.
you completed the battle pass.
Oh, I did. I did that yesterday or today. I can't even remember. I've completed my first ever battle pass in any multiplayer game. And it was for Halo Infinite. It was actually the Season 2 Battle Pass. I've not completed Season 1, but I purchased it, so now I can switch over and do that, and then I can do the Winter Update one as well. So yeah, that's really fun. I think Halo Infinite's just freaking the freaking combat and all the abilities, the hook shot, the little force push thing. I forgot what it's called now, but I think it's so fun. I wish everyone would try out Fiesta mode because it's perfect for beginners, because every single respawn you're given a random weapons and you're given a random special ability, and it just makes the gameplay a lot of fun because every time you die it's like, oh, what am I going to get this time? You get a rocket launcher. Okay, that's immediately knowing that you're going to kill at least 2 people probably. So I just think anyone who's new to Halo, play Fiesta mode. And then lastly, one thing I wanted to talk about before we head out was I got the Logitech G Cloud. They sent it to me, and I did a TikTok on it talking about it. But I really appreciate this device, and I essentially sold my Steam Deck. Well, I bought it, and then I sold it to my friend. I sold it because I knew I was going to get a Logitech, whether they were going to send it to me or I was going to buy one, because this device appeals to me more, being someone who's in the Xbox ecosystem, like pretty deep. Knowing that I can just remote play all my games to it instead of buying games on Steam and playing them. And of course, you can remote play Xbox games to the Steam Deck, but if you're holding a Steam Deck in your hand, this super powerful handheld device, do you really want to remote play anything? No, I want to play games natively. So I figured I could save $150, sell that to my friend, and get the Logitech for $300. But they ended up sending it to me, and I think it's a lot of fun. It's literally just an Android tablet, but it has a controller attached to it. It does all the same functions as a tablet, so you can use it for anything. You can use it for watching streaming shows. You can use it for reading comics or books, and of course gaming. And I've tested out GeForce Now, the streaming service that connects to your Steam account, and I actually own a few games on there. So I tried that out, and that actually works the best of them all compared to the actual xCloud. It's the best streaming service. It looks crisp. But unfortunately, once again, I'm not going to buy games on Steam when I'm already on Xbox and I have plenty of games I want to play. So I'll just consume the streaming Xbox games at a lower resolution and some bad bitrate problems instead of buying them on Steam and being able to play them there. But that said, if I do end up seeing like a good sale on Steam, at least now I know it's an option, like for a random JRPG. Like if I see like a cheap Tales game for like $1 on Steam, I'll be like, you know what? I'll buy it on Steam and just stream it to my Logitech. Like it'll work perfectly fine. So yeah, I think it's a nifty, convenient little device. It's underpowered by today's standards. It's more so like a 2018, 2019 Android tablet or smartphone. But you're mostly using cloud stuff on it. You of course can be a pirate and use emulators on it. I'm not saying I did, but if I did do that, it's sort of hit or miss with games. Like some of them work very well, some of them don't. If I would have tested this out, then I would have known that. But yeah, the Dolphin emulator works on it. You got Game Boy Advance games, you got PSP, PS2. It's pretty good for emulation stuff, allegedly.
Maybe.
Allegedly.
It's not the best. It's no Steam Deck. Of course, the setup for emulation was much easier than Steam Deck. You literally go to the Google Play Store and download emulators. That's all it takes on there. And then you go to the browser. You go to whatever website you use typically, and you download games from the browser. And then that's all you need. You don't. There's no like. You don't need a PC. You don't got to drag files. You don't got to do any of that. It's much easier than Steam Deck, but unfortunately, it's not
so
nearly
hard
as powerful.
Dragging files.
Dude, the Steam Deck I thought was a mess.
I
Like
have to drag files.
I kept watching reviews of the Steam Deck setup process for emulation, and no one mentioned anything that I was having issues with. Like games wouldn't open. It'd say some random occurrence happened, so you can't play this. So I had to go in and figure out what the hell is wrong. Like, and it's I don't know. I'm not a PC guy, so I like the simplicity of just using an Android device and just downloading the emulator and then downloading the file, and boom, there you go.
You don't like Excel or what?
I'm not an Excel guy. No. And I was having trouble with the Steam Deck. Like it kept disconnecting from my Wi-Fi and stuff. And I was like, why is this happening? I don't think Sean's having any problems with it though. So maybe it was just they hated my internet for some reason. And Sean's when I sold it to. But yeah, otherwise that is it. We are right at the time. We're going to close out the show. Sorry, I spent the last 10 minutes talking.
How dare you talk?
I know. I don't like to make it all about me, but I had a list of things I wanted to go through. But yeah, this has been Spot Dodge. If you made it this far, please leave us a review on podcast services. It would really mean a lot. 5 stars would be awesome. And that's it. Thanks for hanging out. We will talk to you guys later. Goodbye.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Turkey Day.
Yeah.
Gobble, gobble.
Okay, stop.
Wow.